Hello student, welcome to my class. Today I am going to take class 9 political science and this chapter is what is democracy and why is democracy. So let's proceed. So in this chapter you are basically going to understand what is the definition of democracy, what are the various features of democracy, which country should follow to consider itself as a democratic country. And then after understanding the democracy and its feature, you are going to analyze different country and consider whether they are really democratic or they are democratic for the namesake. Because in today's world, most of the country, half of the world country consider themselves as a democratic country. But are they really democratic or not? We will analyze in this chapter. So before analyzing the country, let us understand what is democracy and its feature. So what is democracy? Democracy is a government in which the rulers are elected by the public. So when in an election, public choose a leader according to its choice, then you can call that government as a democratic government. Alright, so they not only this definition satisfy the clear definition. If this is just a definition, it does not mean that if this definition is there, if the election is there and the public is choosing the person of his own choice, then that country is a democratic. No, there are some features which should also be satisfied. There are some criteria which are also be needed to satisfy to consider a country a really democratic country. So let's see what are the features which are needed to be satisfied to for a country to make itself a real democratic government. So those features are, the first feature is that the decision making power, the final decision making power or the final choices of the country, what are the final decisions for the country, the final choices of the country should be made by those people who are elected by the public in the election. So if the final decision is taken by those people who are elected by the public, then you can say that okay, then this country is a democratic country. Then there is second feature also, and that second feature says that there should be a democratic election in the country. Because if the election is not democratic, then how the government form out of the undemocratic election can be democratic? Right? So the election should also be democratic, because in the election only the public is choosing its representative, choosing its head or ruler or the leader. So that election should also be democratic to consider itself a democratic country, because election is the criteria through which you are choosing the leader. Alright, so that election should conducted in the country should also be democratic. How can you make a election democratic? You can make election democratic when the election is free and fair. There is no malpractices in the election. It should be free and fair. There should not be any capturing up polling booth or any such practices, or using up money to buy the votes. All these practices should not be there in the election. It should be free and fair. Second thing to make the election democratic is that there should be choices in the election. Suppose you have the election in the country and only one party is standing in the election. Do you really have the choice to choose the government of your choice? No, you don't. Because there is only one party in the election and you have to vote for that party. You have no choice, right? Then how can that election be democratic? So there should be so many choices present to the public so that the public can choose from those choices. And then only the election is democratic. Third thing to make our election democratic is that there should be chances of defeating the ruling party. Alright, because the ruling party which has ruled the country in the last 5 years, while ruling the country, it has acquired lot of power and money. So sometime what happened, they misuse this power and money, and the ruling party by misusing this power and money come to the power again and again. So there should be some rules and regulation for the ruling party and for the opposition party also, so that everybody should have the chances to win the election and everybody should have the chances to get defeated. So if these things are there in the election, then you can say that election is a democratic. So till now we have seen the two features of democracy. That is, one, the final decision should be in the hand of the elected ruler of the public, and second, the election should be democratic so that the country can really consider itself a democratic country. Then there is a third criteria also. And what is that third criteria? The third criteria says that each adult citizen in that country, like in our country, the adult citizen are those citizens which has achieved the age of 18. So whatever the age criteria the country is following, some country follow 21-year age, some country follow some other age to be considered its citizen as adult. So whatever they are considering the age, but every adult citizen of that country should have right to vote. There should be universal adult franchise. It's not like educated people can vote, uneducated people cannot vote. It's not that women cannot vote, man can vote. Alright, everybody should have the right to vote. Universal adult franchise should be there, like everybody should have the right to vote. And the value of everybody vote should be equal to 1. You cannot say that because he is a man, his vote value will be 2, and because he is a woman, so her vote value will be half. No, you cannot put such criteria. Everybody should have right to vote and value of everybody vote should be equal to 1. And you may be thinking, okay, this is such a small thing, every country follow it. Then no. For a very, very, very long time, Saudi Arabia did not give right to women to vote. In Estonia, still the people belonging to Russian minority cannot vote. In Fiji, the indigenous Fiji people, when they vote, their vote value is counted as 1. But the people who has come from outside and settled in the Fiji, if they vote, their vote value is counted as half. So you can see that still this criteria is not followed in many countries. So this criteria should also be fulfilled so that you can really consider that country as a real democratic country. And there is also a fourth criteria to make a country democratic, and that criteria is, suppose you give a vote and that person comes to power. After coming to the power, that person can become proudish and misuse his power and can become a dictator on you. So to avoid such situation, the country has made some rules and regulation to have a proper democratic country. What is that rule? That rule says that even if somebody is coming to the power after the public vote, that person has to follow some rules and regulation. Those rules and regulation which is written in our constitution. They have to follow our constitution. They have to work according to our constitution. They cannot change the constitution easily and alone. And they cannot take away the fundamental rights of the citizen. They cannot take the right to equality, right to freedom, right to education, right to religion, or any such rights from the citizen. They have to follow the constitution, and they cannot change the constitution, and they cannot take away the fundamental rights. So these are the features of the democracy. These are the criteria of democratic country. And if the country is following all these features, then that country is a real democratic country. So let us now analyze different country and see whether they are really a democratic country or they are democratic for the name's sake. So let's see. So first and foremost, let us analyze our neighboring country, Pakistan. So what happened in Pakistan? In 1999, there was a military coup in Pakistan. What is military coup? It is a situation in which sometime when the military feel that the present democratic government is not ruling the country properly, the present democratic government is inefficient, they cannot provide security to the country, then this military of that country, when they feel like that, they attack the government, they take away the power from the democratic government and they start ruling the country till the next election is conducted. Alright, so in 1999, what happened in Pakistan? Military attacked the democratic government. At that time, the head of the military was Parvez Musharraf, and the democratic government was under Nawaz Sharif. So the Parvez Musharraf attacked the Nawaz Sharif government and removed him from the power and took all the power in his hand. So was it first time happened in the Pakistan? No. This was not the first time happened in the Pakistan. Earlier also this type of military coup happened in Pakistan so many times. Like in 1958 also there was a military coup in Pakistan which lasted for the 1971. There was a military coup in Pakistan in 1977 and which lasted for 1988. Means still this many times there was a military rule in Pakistan. And then again in 1999, the military attacked the government and took the power and kept the power along with him till 2008. So this is happening many times in Pakistan. Military is taking away the power from the democratic government. So what happened? After taking the power, the Parvez Musharraf, what he did? He attacked the Nawaz Sharif government and took the power in his hand. And when they took the power in his hand, the people started resisting it, and they said that okay, you took the power, you thought that this government is inefficient, then now conduct the election and again form the democratic government in our country. But the Parvez Musharraf refused, and he did not conduct the election. But of course in 2002 he conducted a referendum. Referendum is not exactly an election, but it is like asking the people opinion, asking people to express his opinion in their voices, so to know whether what they want, what is their choice, what are the choices of the people is asked from the public. So he conducted a referendum in which he asked the people their choices. And he conducted this referendum after coming to the power in 1999. He did not conduct it for some years. In 2002, he conducted that referendum. And in that referendum, he considered himself as the president of the Pakistan. He said that in the referendum, the public is saying that I should become the president of Pakistan. And it is not the country outside only. It is not the neighboring country alone. It is not the India alone which is saying this, but the whole media of that country itself, the Pakistan media itself said that that referendum was full of corruption, was full of malpractices. They used so many wrong method in that referendum, and that was not a real referendum. And with that wrong referendum, malpractice referendum, he made himself as the president of Pakistan. So after becoming the president of Pakistan, he issued a legal framework. He issued a legal order. And what he did with the legal order? He changed the constitution of the Pakistan completely. So how he changed the constitution? He gave lot of power to himself. He gave lot of power to the president. And then he issued a order that anytime if I want, anytime if the president of Pakistan want, he can dismiss the National Assembly and the Provincial Assembly. So what is National Assembly and Provincial Assembly? It is a parliament on which the people elected person used to sit. The people who are elected by the people used to sit in the assembly and they take decisions for the public. So what is happening? The elected person, elected representative of the public can be dismissed anytime by the non-elected person in the country. Parvez Musharraf is actually a non-elected person who has come to the power without election. Alright, now he got the power to dismiss the assembly which is of the elected member of the public. Now the elected members can be dismissed by the non-elected member Parvez Musharraf. What he did, he made a National Security Council, and he made National Security Council to sit above the assembly and analyze the work of the assembly. And he himself was the head of the National Security Council. So he was on the top, below him the National Security Council, and below the National Security Council the assembly was present. So what is happening? The elected members who are sitting in the National Assembly are now under the control and pressure of National Security Council, and they are under the control of Parvez Musharraf. So is the first criteria of our democracy, that is the final decision should be made by the elected member, is this satisfied here? Can this elected members can take the final decision here? No, they cannot take. If they take anything against Parvez Musharraf or the Parvez Musharraf or the National Security Council, then they will be dismissed by the president. So what is happening here? The final decision making is actually not rested with the hands of elected member of the public, and this incident is clear indication that this is not a democratic country at all. So even though Pakistan declare itself a democratic country, but this type of situation is happening many times in Pakistan. So we cannot say that democracy in Pakistan is a real one. It is actually a questionable democratic country. After Pakistan, let us analyze our second neighbor, China. So what is happening in China? In China, election is being conducted every 5 years, and 3000 members are elected in the election, and this 3000 members elect the president of the country. So this is a very good rule. No problem in this rule. So far, so good. Alright, so they are conducting the election in 5 years. They are electing 3000 members in that election, and that 3000 member at the end is electing the president of the country. So this is good. So what is wrong here? The wrong here is that in 3000 members, all the members are not elected by the whole people of China. Some members of this are elected only by the army. And this is actually wrong. It is not following the rules of universal adult franchise. You cannot give right to some particular group of our country. Some special right you cannot give to some particular groups of the country. Every member should be elected by the choice from the whole country, not from a particular group. But they have given some special rights to the military, to the army. They can elect the some members of those 3000 members. And then another problem is, in India, anybody who want to contest the election can stand. But in China, not all can stand in the election. If they want to stand and contest the election, they have to take the permission from the CCP party, that is Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is the most powerful party in that country, or you can say it is the only powerful party in that country. And if anybody want to contest the election, they have to take the permission from that party. Is it right? It's not right at all. Because in such situation, what will happen? This CCP party, Chinese Communist Party, will not at all give the permission to those who are against him. The opposers will not at all get the permission to stand and contest in the election. Alright, like in India, if you give the right to contest in election to the Congress or to the BJP, then why will the Congress will give right to contest the election to the BJP, and why the BJP will give right to the Congress to contest the election? So here what is happening? One party is having the right to choose who can contest the election. So here anybody who want to contest the election have to take the permission from the CCP party. And though there is a 8 small party in the China, but only CCP party is coming to the power and winning the election. Why? Because there are no opposers allowed to contest in the election, and always the government of CCP is formed in China. So what you can say? Do the people of that country have the choices to choose in that country? Do these people have the choices in the election? No. Whether they like the CCP party or they don't like the CCP party, they have to vote for the CCP party. Either there is a CCP party or 8 small party which are the supporters of CCP party standing in the election. So you don't have any choice. You have to choose the CCP party and bring that party in the power. So what is the use of the election in such countries? So there is also their democracy is also questionable, because there is no choices in the election, and this is also one of the criteria for a democratic country. This is also one of the feature of democracy which is actually not satisfied in China. So Chinese democracy is also questionable democratic country. Now let us analyze the case of Mexico. Mexico got independence before us. It got its independence in 1930 only, and it is a small country near USA. And after winning the independence, the election was conducted in the country, and till 2000 only PRI party came in power in that country. PRI means Institutional Revolutionary Party. That party only came to the power every time till 2000. For 70 years, there was no change in the government of Mexico. Only PRI party used to come to the power. Though they used to conduct election every 6 years, even then only PRI party used to come to the power. And they also had so many opposition party in that country. But still PRI party only used to come to the power. Why? Because this PRI party used so many malpractices to come to the power. This PRI party, because it was ruling party, they used their power and money they misused their power and money actually, and they were misusing this power and money to come to the power. So what are the malpractices they were using to come to the power? They were using so many malpractices, and some of them are discussed here. Like the government officers who are working in the government offices, they were made compulsory to attend the PRI meeting, to follow the rules and regulation of PRI meeting, and to support the PRI meeting. Is it correct to force the government officers of the country to vote for the ruling party, to support the ruling party? No, but this was used by PRI party. And then the government teachers of that country used to force the parents to vote for the PRI party. And the parents were forced to vote for the PRI party for the sake of their children. And then the government used to control the media, whether it is newspaper, TV, radio, everything was controlled by the PRI party, the government. And this government used to force the media to glorify their act and to criticize the opposition party. Every time, whatever small thing PRI party used to do, they used to glorify it. And whatever, not even the mistake, some small mistakes of the opposition party used to be presented in a big way. They used to criticize the opposition party always, because the full media was under the control of government. And there was some malpractices in the election too. They used to capture the polling booth, and they used to put all the vote in favor of PRI, and then they used to put it for the election. So this type of practices also they used in the election, and also they used lot of power and money of the government to win the election. So this is the reason why PRI party always coming in power till 70 years in Mexico. So in such country, can you consider this government a really democratic government? So you know the answer, no. And then now let us analyze the case of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe got its independence quite late. It got its independence in 1980, and it is a country near Africa. And to get the independence in that country, the ZANU-PF party played a very important role. And the head of the ZANU-PF party was Robert Mugabe. So because this party brought independence for the Zimbabwe, so people had a lot of good feelings and respect toward the ZANU-PF party. So after independence, when the election was conducted, they gave their vote to the ZANU-PF party, and ZANU-PF party came to the power, and Robert Mugabe, the head of the ZANU-PF party, became the president of Zimbabwe. So after coming to the power, this Robert Mugabe became proudest, arrogant, and he misused his power and he changed the complete constitution of Zimbabwe and gave lot of rights and powers to himself. Now, nobody can raise his voice against Robert Mugabe. Whoever used to raise his voice against Robert Mugabe, he used to punish them brutally. He used to send them to the jail. He even used to kill them. And he started disobeying the court also. And he put the court under his control and he made the court to pass those judgments which was in his favor. Even if it was a wrong judgment, he used to force the court to pass those judgments. He even controlled the full media, the press, the TV, the radio, all media was controlled by him. And he even made the strike illegal. So, can you consider this country a democratic country? It is not satisfying the fourth feature of your democracy, that he cannot change the constitution, he cannot take away the fundamental rights from the citizen, and he is breaking the fourth feature completely, and so you cannot consider Zimbabwe also a democratic country. So, with the analyzing of this democracy country, let us now analyze some disadvantages of democracy. So, though the democratic country is a democratic form of government is appreciated by many, but there are some disadvantages in democratic government also. And this disadvantage we are considering so that we can try to remove this disadvantage from our democracy. Or democracy, let us see the disadvantages and demerits of democracy. So, first disadvantage is instability. See here, the power always changes. Every 5 years or 6 years, the power changes. It goes from one party to another party, from one person to another person. So what is happening when the power changes from one party to another party? The rules and regulation and policy also changes. And this brings instability in the country. And the second disadvantage, there is lot of dirty politics in the democracy, because to win the election they play lot of unfair, they take unfair measures and they practice malpractices in the election. So there is lot of dirty politics, because of which the people who respect their moral, they get hesitated to enter into the politics. And the third problem is red tapeism. Red tapeism is lot of delay in the decision making. They take lot of time to take a decision. It has to pass by this department and that department, then this person, then that person, and it take lot of time to take one decision. And the next problem is that there exists lot of corruption in the election process. There are lot of corrupt methods are used in election process. And also the elected leader does not know what is good for the public. They don't know what they should do. Anybody is coming to the power, even the uneducated person, unexperienced person who has no knowledge what is good for the public is coming to the power, and they don't know what he should do for the betterment of the public. Even the public, because we have the universal adult franchisee, even the public sometimes is not knowing which is good for him or which is not good for him. Even the public is voting sometimes to the bad persons. Even sometimes the public is voting for the criminals. So even the publics are not that educated to choose the right person for themselves. So these are some of the disadvantages of democracy. Now let us see some advantage or the merit of democracy. So the first advantage is it is an accountable government. It's not that person come to the power and it will stop listening to you. Because he know if he will not listen to you, after 5 years his power will be taken away from him, or he can be jailed after during his lifetime. Because if he is using some corrupt method, he can be punished by the courts and the constitution. Alright, so he remain accountable, responsible to the public. So it is an accountable government. And it improves the quality of decision making. Though there is a red tapeism, lot of delay in decision making, but because that decision is analyzed by various departments and various people, so the decision which is finally taken is of good quality. And it also deals with the difficulties and conflicts in a better way. All right, because in democratic country, you solve all the problems by discussion. Whenever there is a conflict or difficulties, they used to sit and discuss. Like in the parliament, what you do, you sit and discuss the things. So in democratic country, all the difficulties and conflicts are discussed properly, and this bring peace in the country because you are solving the problem by discussion and not by the fightings. And it also respect the dignity of the citizen because you are giving so much of right and importance to the citizen. You are giving them right to choose their government. You are giving them right to freedom, right to speak, right to equality, right to religion, and so many other rights. And so you are respecting the dignity of the citizen. And also it is the best form of the government. You don't have any alternative government better than democratic. Can you have any government which can be better than the democratic? There is no other alternative than this. So among the present choices, this is the best form of government. And also we can correct our mistake in democracy. Suppose we have taken wrong decision and we voted for somebody bad person this time, then in the next election we can correct our mistake. In the next election we will not vote for that person and we will vote for some other person. So we have the choices to correct our mistake. So because of all this decision, its merit and advantage is much better than the demerits. It's the value of merit and advantage is much better than the demerit, and because of all this thing, most of the countries in the world is following the democratic form of government. So we are mostly following the representative form of government or indirect democracy. So why are we following representative? We are choosing our representative, and that representative is taking the decision for the country. It is not the public taking decision for the country. It is the representative of the public taking the decision of the country, and it is the democracy, indirect democracy. Here, not directly public is not participating. So why this is happening? Because it is physically impossible for all the country people to sit in a place and decide a policy. Is it possible for the whole country of India to sit in a place and take a decision? No, it is physically impossible. Where all the people of the India will sit? Okay, chalo, India is a big country. Take an example of a small country like Nepal. Can all the people in Nepal sit in a place and decide anything for themselves? There also it is not possible. So physically it is impossible for a country to sit in a place and decide a decision, and that's why we have indirect democracy or the representative government. Second reason why we have indirect democracy is that suppose if it is possible also to sit in a place, suppose that if all can sit in a place and take a decision, do you think all of them have the time to take this decision? Do you think all have interest to take this decision? Do you think all have desire to participate in discussion? Do you think all are capable to solve the problem? No. So first reason, it's not physically possible to make everybody sit in a place. Second reason, even if they sit in a one place, they don't have desire, time and ability to take decision. All don't have, right? So that's why we are following the representative form of government or indirect democracy. Alright, now let's see the broader meaning of democracy. So democracy is mainly the rule of majority. It is not the rule of public. When you define democracy, you say that it is the rule of public, but actually it is not a rule of public, it is the rule of majority only. You can, if suppose in a class election, you take the example. In the class election of monitor, there are 20 persons sitting in the class and 12 voted for Ram to become the monitor. But 8 people don't voted Ram to become the monitor. But still Ram become the monitor of the class because the majority of the class voted for the Ram. And you says that the Ram became monitor because the whole class wanted to Ram to become the monitor. But it is not whole class. It is only the 12 people, only the majority class wanted to become Ram to become the monitor and not the whole 20 people. So how Ram is becoming the monitor? He is becoming the monitor not because of the whole class but because of the majority. Same way in the country, it is actually not the rule of the whole public, it is the rule only of the majority public. So this is what democracy means. Also, in democracy, in democratic country, what happened? The democratic principles are not only followed in the government, it has come to the every aspects of the life. In the school, in the colleges, in the universities, in the family, in the organization, in the office, everywhere the democratic principles are followed nowadays. For the family also, if you want to take some decision, you ask everybody's choice, and whatever the majority decision comes, the family take that decision. So this democratic principle is now not confined only to the government, it has spread everywhere in the school, family, offices, organization, and everywhere. And also in democracy, the real democracy is one where there is nobody's hunger, where nobody is hungry. Everybody is equal, everybody is participating in decision making, everybody can get the information. If such a situation exists, then only you can consider a place a democratic country. And the next thing is that we always differentiate between the democratic country and non-democratic country and try to prove that democracy is a good one. But this is wrong. We should not differentiate between democracy and non-democracy. We should differentiate between a democratic country and a good democratic country. For namesake, China is also democratic. For namesake, Pakistan is also democratic. We are also democratic. What we should do? We should not compare the democratic and non-democratic, but we should compare the democracy of Pakistan with the democracy of India. Democracy of a bad country in which the democracy is in bad situation, and the country in which the democracy is in good position. So we should compare not only the democratic and non-democratic government, we should compare the democracy with the good democracy also. And the direct democracy which we were talking in the last slide, where all the people can sit and take the decision, it do exist in India also in some places, especially in the villages. In the villages you have Gram Panchayat and Gram Sabha. The Gram Panchayat consists of Sarpanch and the Panch member, but the Gram Sabha is consist of all the member of the villages. And the Gram Sabha sometime meet and take decision for the village. Sometimes all the members of Gram Sabha consists of all the member of the village, and they sat together and take the decision for the village. Because in the village level it is possible for every member to meet in one place. And so direct democracy also existing in India in Gram Sabha of villages. And the real democracy is one which strengthen the citizen, which make the country powerful, which make its ruler responsible, which give lot of participation power to the citizen, which gives citizen the power to take the decision for the country. And if these things are followed, and then only you can say that real democracy is being established in the country. So that's all for today's chapter. I hope you understand this chapter. If I help you to some extent, do subscribe my channel MP Social View. Thanks for watching students, and happy learning.